What does it feel like to create an art with love? Well, we're creating this spiritual art journey and we're starting a new sketchbook to find out being totally balanced. So we're using the watercolor as medium, using the palette that we mix our colors for ourselves. And then we're also valuing the color wheel, but we're like telling ourselves to value our intuition while it is being complementary with all the experiences and inspirations. We know how to select the things that are suitable for us, the skills that we love. It's not necessary to just hold on to some of those things that we don't know and just, doubt ourselves too much. So I would also show you in another video of the other arts that I had progressed and I had been making arts for 20 years as a hobby that I enjoyed so much, and there are like different stages of it that we'll explain in another video. So right here we start with our heart, and it's kind of looking like a reddish heart, but it's actually the heart that is so pure, so unaffected, and is conveying so much love in every single life form that is existing on earth is actually a miracle of love ourselves. So I love it when we're able to draw hearts, create hearts, and just enjoy these kinds of shapes. So when many people are starting with arts, and I do see some of the videos where people are talking about finding or creating styles of art, so they're like different people with different opinions. From my way though, I would see that I would just select the shapes that I love first and just know that there will be something that I hope to incorporate or infuse in the traits of my arts. And that would be starting off with this heart that we see. And there might be these tiny little details that we're adding. It's like a pinkish highlight right there. It's not even white, it's not even perfect, but we're adding it in a way that we love. Yeah, because we're comfortable with it. And it pretty much pictures many things in life. As we just start to see things outside of the heart, there's this incredible thing that I've been doing for years now. I love to play with hearts. I realized that at certain stages in my life, I used to like draw hearts with lock gates or draw hearts in many ways of containing many things inside. Well, we're gonna talk more about those things, but here at this stage, at this moment, we're seeing waves around the heart. We're playing with this very fluid and very natural forms because I get inspired by nature recently, and when I'm like interpreting parts of a book, which is a very popular ancient philosophy book named Dao Jīng, or translated as The Way by Lao Tzu, I am so excited with many things inside, such as, but not limited to, some of the analogies, including like the container that has to have this container outside that is hard, but also has its empty form inside. Right. And then there is this most famous analogy of being like water. Yes, there are like many quotes about imitating water or being like water, where water is like flowing and it could be in any form, and it is like gentle yet nurturing yet really powerful at times, and it flows to the sea, like people being humble. There are many things about water. And after all those though, I have to say that I stopped interpreting that book when I saw that there are excerpts about the same book that is different. And then I was like so sad. I was like, is this a lie? Is everything just... But seeing Lao Tzu being sculpted and formed into different shapes, I started to realize that maybe those interpretations are also this philosophy branching out into so many beautiful forms. Thousands of years was something that is being dug from, I'm not quite sure, a site by archaeologists, and also people who rewrite the messages and reinterpret it in ways that they found using their unique ways. And I find out that, well, many things are actually misinterpreted in life. This is a new voiceover because when we're editing the video, we actually go back to where we started off. Yeah, we analyzed and wrote chapter 1 to chapter 39 and used different tools to help us analyze this open source philosophy book in our ways, and we question many of the things until in the middle we stopped for 19 days. But after editing the video and talking about these things, we feel like, wow, we feel like going back and continuing from chapter 40. And well, it is a huge coincidence and another miracle, I guess. It's also talking about how non-existence and emptiness is like giving birth to like existence and then branching out to many things, at least in my understanding. So I'm like, wow, this is magical, and I got to be sharing about this, and I got to share this beautiful energy in a session in this video. So that's it. Yeah, we talk about that for quite a bit. The 3D assets. And yet, we love many of the intuitive arts as well. Because I still remember how I just try to re-explore Blender or this kind of softwares. I always have my way of like starting things off. I love and appreciate the amount of tutorials out there, but I'm always like, oh, what does that do? Like, what if I leave that on? Like, I feel like I wanna leave that just the way it is. Sometimes I do those things and find out wonders, and I just dance like a happy child. Or I'm like, that's just funny and ridiculous and not functioning, and like, oh, so this experiment is like not so cool. But at least I feel like I'm really experiencing the moment. So I started to know that my ways of creating arts, it has never stopped. And back then, if I was being asked, like, Are you an artist? When I'm in, like, let's say kindergarten, I might say things like, oh, artist? I don't know, I want to be a doctor. By the way, I'm now like a biomedical engineering graduate, so I don't want to see blood, so no doctor. But like, I still remember clearly that in kindergarten I would say that to everybody, go out there, shout like, oh, I am gonna heal everybody, I'm gonna save everyone. And I'm so sure of that, and I'm so sure with how I would just use my hands and my fingers and just point at somebody and they are healed immediately. And I have that vision in mind. Whether it's technology, whether it's a use of energy, I'm so confident in myself. And then I just draw things out. And when I get to like primary school, I guess, well, a lot of the confidence dropped when I started to get introduced to standards and stuff like that. I do appreciate how many things are being formed since ages ago, so that we get to form many things in organized ways. But I also hope to have a moment to balance out the things that sometimes seem a bit meaningless, but they fulfill the parts that are empty, to highlight the parts that are not empty, or maybe they're just there for us to breathe in and breathe out and continue the cycles without burning out, without being the person who seems to not even know what is going on with life, well, being alive, stuff like that. And I am one of the fortunate ones who get signals from my body, because I could express my emotions. I know when I'm sad, when I'm happy, and I express them. But I don't know that there are some people that I've met, they don't know how to express them, or they're not quite sure if they allow themselves to have moments where they don't have to be perfect. And I guess when I'm talking about this, I'm also talking to my own self when I was growing up. And I hope she knows about this, really. I went through a few types of therapies. At the start of everything, I was not thinking like I have a disease or something. I was just trying to take care of my mental health before I take care of the mental health of the other people as a mental health tech project creator. When you saw me in the past, when I was like getting my visions out slowly, but then still actually searching my ways to reach the other people. So what we actually have right there is just seemingly insane, because we actually discover many things in ourselves that we didn't know about. We heal our traumas. We heal our unnecessary traumas. And the fact that there is this firework moment at this particular night actually symbolize that moment as well, because it's like the sound that is so loud, and to some people it might be annoying, to some people it's a celebration, it's beautiful for that moment. And for me, for that part in my life, it's almost the same. I'm like shining and exploding somewhere, somehow, being the kind of ambitious leader, and also healing myself in the progress. I feel that I'm very fortunate, like really, really fortunate to be able to sense when am I okay, when are my teammates okay, when are these situations okay, when are that situation not okay, because it's actually all being defined by us ourselves. And the way that humans actually get to define all these things makes our perception so different, yet we're the same species. And it's very weird for me to understand many things in many ways. And at some point, as you could see from my arts as it portrays, I don't hope to have these sharp forms, although they are not necessarily just, hurtful, because scissors, for example, they could be used to cut papers, not to cut the other things that might hurt others or self. So why am I escaping from that though? Maybe I don't think I want to be the person to master that sharp thing, or maybe I have already mastered that, or I hope I've mastered that, because not just scissors, there are so many kinds of technology that's blooming. And when some people really ask me like why I see you like thriving using this technology or that technology, and then you sort of only select one or two things to use, or you sort of run away from that particular thing, I'm like, they're cool, but I do know that there are many people who would be doing that for the visions that they have, and I don't want to like be the ones who criticize them. There's already enough problems in the world that are being left unresolved when there is the anger, when we have conflicts. And I hope that I'm one of them who bring peace into this whole perspective. And I also hope that I could also explore some parts that are totally unexplored, to bring the mastered parts of these sharp tools. And so that's why I end up being the person who is sometimes seeming as if she knows it all, but after knowing it all, she seems as if she's the one who's puzzled about something. But eventually, she always comes to knowing what she truly hopes to see. And that's why she's having a voice right here to share with you. And that's why she's sharing this video, this series that is totally different from all the other things in the past. Creating those short videos are kind of fun, to be honest, but not fun if it's draining energy. It's for some kind of things that we just catch outside without balancing, like the inside of us and the outside of us. At least that's what I think. And so what I'm trying to do is to value myself when I'm trying to share those messages that are very long. Because I remember that in many things that I do, competitions or simple reels or shorts or simple things, I actually always take my time, a lot of time to do this kind of things. And I always take a lot of time to share my voice. But back then, Since kindergarten, I was chosen for storytelling. I have a limited time and the script has to be definite. And when I was in primary school, I draw comics about them, and they have to be on one page only, or when we draw with friends, they have to be just in some ways that I can't even remember. And in secondary school, when we go for public speaking, it's also a speech that's having the criteria that the judges would mark with, which I love because that's the way that made me brave, especially with impromptu speeches, that they're so fun with the time limit. But I forgot that I actually enjoy the way that I just share the things endlessly. Or maybe not endlessly, just share things that I love until I hope to stop myself. And in university, we even have this debating things. And I don't even know what to say because debate is totally different from the previous ones that I mentioned. And many people think that debating is arguing, but I personally got into debating and love debating because I love some of the books right there, and I love the way of passing down wisdom. And debating actually started off with philosophers, and I love philosophy, but then I got into debate to find out that there are also different types of debates and things like that, and many things are quite complicated, and we also have to play by many things. I do love how it lets me see the bigger picture of how different things could be redefined and the parameters could be set in different ways, and the whole motion might change under different backgrounds. And then there are even different fallacies in speaking, but usually some fallacies, they are the most well-known philosophical thoughts as well. And it's not a thing that made me feel like I want to argue for one side, proposition or opposition, because I don't like or, I like ands. N, I love feminine energy and also masculine energy. While I love being a woman, doesn't mean that I only wanna be feminine. That's just an example. So after that, graduate, and I realized that I'm a combination of it all. And I haven't even mentioned the part where I went through the whole entrepreneurial journey. I'm not quite sure whether to call it journey because we started that so long ago, and since 6 years old we stamp a CEO room on our room. I'm not quite sure about why or how I call myself a doctor and CEO, owning company or whatever, that we try so many times, I guess, to do many things. And there are also many ways that need us to prepare, let's say, elevator pitches or the other forms of pitches on stage. Not just time limit, it's also the target audience that people set. They're always be specific, who is listening to you? And I'm always yeah, talking and sharing about things that is clear for them so that they would listen, or so that they could have the piece of information that they need. And I find it interesting because right here, I thought about something else. I thought about randomly sharing things while you are looking at me creating an art from my watercolor. I wonder who would listen to me to talk about these things that are so genuine yet so ridiculous. I saw some of the art vlogs and I get inspired because I love the way that people just enjoy life so much and they love editing the videos. And you probably realize up until now that I don't actually really like editing videos. I love the parts. I try to love the parts where I could edit the bits where people could see things and add a bit of music, maybe just add a bit of hand-drawn thingy right there. But I really don't like going through the video to edit things, this and that. And I realized that, as we grow, there are actually tools to help us. And yeah, there are people who enjoy the progress, and maybe we could seek help from them, right? But that also sparks another question in me. What would happen if I would just do this? Like do what I'm doing right now? And that brings us here. The art that you see me forming, I first started off when I think about sharing this art. And then my thought just wander off. And then we go on and talk about life. And we don't even know what's inside. You see me using something that looks like a water bottle. But it's actually like something that used to have the toner that I was using. And then after using that, I just add water and realized that it's so convenient to just squeeze the bottle as a watercolor bottle. Yeah, I'm just insane like that. And I love those things. And right now, if you're thinking that I would go on about my art, no. We will go on about the things on my desk. Yay! Well, we mentioned about the palette that we mix ourselves, but right beside the color palette, there is also a transparent plastic sheet kind of thing. Yeah. So, this is kind of like ironic because we really love being eco-friendly. And yet, we have to first admit that everyone, when we are growing up, if we are from cities or like even from some of the rural areas, actually, we are really growing up in a place where many people have formed these things for us. It's just like so contradicted. So I'm trying to be a part where I'm thinking of how I could opt for eco-friendly options whenever I could. And then whenever there are like the things in the past that I use or from families or friends that they've used, I could just use it in the other ways. And I tell myself that. Because if we think it through, I don't hope to face it with an angry emotion, especially when they first created this for them. Like, I couldn't, because I'm kept on thinking about our civilization starting with the fire. And if you hear me repeating any of these things in some of the videos, I try not to. If there are messages that you hear, it's probably a really important one that have been stuck in my brain. And that's why when I see like fire, I also know that there are so many different usage. Yeah. It's like the start of an age, a new age. Just imagine like humans first starting the first fire. Wow. Wow. Like definitely wow. They won't have imagined things that are, actually harming them later on. And it's just having different kinds of people with different reactions. And I do have the time in the past where I hated so much about these things. Yes, and I don't want to be like that. I hope to solve things with love. I look at a sun that is so forgiving. It is shining on every single person with love. I hope to be like sun sometimes. It's just like nature. And if I have to be like nature, and just let go of all the hatred, let go of all the anger, I embrace it. I appreciate what they do for me. And I hope that if there is a moment of fire in our civilization, there might be another moment that is emerging. Who knows? Maybe it's this watercolor art that I'm showing you right here. Maybe it's something that you do. Okay, regardless of whether you hear this or not, something amazing that you do that starts a new age. Yes, we could do that. We're humans. With so many amazing things that we have done in the world, of course. And after talking about the transparent palettes that help us mix our colors when we're using with water, there's the color wheel, and then there's the mirror with like the flower thingy right there. Oh, I love that. I actually bought 2 products of that. It's actually a mirror if I flip it. And then it comes with a cloth that is so beautiful that it could be used to wipe glasses. I haven't been using it for ages, and I've given it to a person who values me and send me something I really love. So I also trade it with the things that I really love, and I'm not quite sure if this person is using it or how this person is using it, but I'm grateful to be here. And then there are crystals right there, crystal balls. Really love crystal balls, they're so cute. Actually, maybe next time we're gonna have like crystals without being in the shape of balls. And then there's the dragon right there. Yeah, dragon could be pinned on our chest or everywhere else. And then we have the paper that is very small that we created ourselves. And then there's essential oil. For the papers, it's a long journey. We're gonna talk more about that in another video, hopefully, because as usual, we are also really experimental on creating that paper, and we try many ways. So after talking about those things, we're gonna go deep inside the art. Ooh. Spiritual art experience, where we're experiencing. We can see that the brush is so tiny, and it's the kind of brush that we buy in a book fair that is just so beautiful. And it comes from the country that is the same from the person that we mentioned about trading beautiful and lovely stuff just now. So it's lovely. And yet we're like coloring the parts that are on the right side, because we feel like there's something ongoing with the left. And this kind of wave reading is called neurographic, and usually there are many ways of creating them. Some people create them by drawing triangles or lines at first, and then the joints, they would just blend it out, and it was also my way of creating things at first. After a long while though, I kind of changed my way of creating it by directly drawing these lines that are full with the feeling of having the kind of fluid feature to them. Amazing, isn't it? And by saying fluid so many times, I think I'm gonna pause right here to drink water. I'll just take a sip of it. And there we go. We came from the pause and we're ready to continue. Well. There are different shades of red that could be interpreted in different ways. And yeah, it's amazing that we're looking at it without really looking at it. By that I actually mean that there are these lights that are emitting from the electronic gadget that is something that is recorded, but is it really the art? Ooh, of course it is. It's just that it's the light capture. It's not the art itself that you're seeing, but it's also the art that you're seeing, because you're seeing the exact colors, or maybe there's like some sort of a filter to it in a video. You could surely touch a screen. Imagine yourself touching the real art, only if we really feel and believe in that, because I'm touching my own art. And yet, many people who look at the screen when we scroll through things, it feels like, oh, there's this person, there's that thing, there's this thing. It's like a screen giving the whole world. To be exact, it's like lights giving the whole world, because from the electronic gadget, it's the light that gives us vision, and it's the sound that makes us hear those things. So when I'm creating spiritual arts nowadays, well, it depends on mood as well, because there were times when I know there are specific things that I want to heal with. There's this specific sound, whether it's from Monroe Institute or a music or something that has a frequency that I love. Just play it. But recently I find out that I just sometimes appreciate the moment with the sound that I'm creating myself. It might be my own voice. It might be the sound that I create with droplets of water. It might be not hearing specific sound that's different from usual, and just sink into the moment to really feel something, after being so grounded, and take the time to really let my heart tell me messages, because I'm a visual person and really practical person. Yeah, some people say, oh, I'm kinetic learner, something like that. Well, I don't specifically just learn. I either explore them or just create them nowadays. I hope to find something within me that's to be unleashed. It won't go on about those things that people are trying to unlearn, or people find out about how curiosity is something that ignites creativity as well, since it's more common in our generation than ever. And I'm grateful that people are starting to realize that. But I personally really hope to have a voice that represents us, the part of our world. I'm thinking of whether it's our generation, our civilization, then I'm thinking of our world. Part of our world where it's just so beautiful. And it's so beautiful that everyone lives here, is here. Well, some people are like the past me, and I get it. It's like sometimes in the past, when I see something, when I had this strong emotion, when that emotion was not something that I hoped to experience, I might blame it on the particular thing or person, forgetting that I'm also a part of the world. And when I was being kind of attacked, not for real, but felt attacked, I'm not quite sure what to feel about it, but I don't think the reaction that I hope to have was labeling it with more definitions that weigh us down or continue in that emotion. I do have time to embrace that particular emotion, let it all out, and that's it. And I allow time for myself to experience the part of me that is sinking into the emotion that I hope to have getting nearer to it step by step. Because while I'm embracing it all, there might be some of the things that I also love more in particular, and I hope that I am not just being subjective, I'm not just being objective, that everybody might just be a dust in the universe. I hope that I could see the bigger picture, that I get to embrace the past, present, and future self enough and love all of us enough. But I also hope that I am able to enjoy the smallest sparks in life that make my tiny little life matter so much. And I got to hear these things that I was not comfortable with, where people say, oh, a definition is just a definition. But we are being redefined in ways, and we listen to those definitions, and definitions are things that we believe in. They are things that shape our beliefs. When I used to look at the dates and put deadlines on the things that people call deadlines, I was so miserable, although I was creating something that I love so much. And I told myself to cancel that and put a birth line right there. Every time I look at that, I'm so happy that I am imagining myself to have something come alive on that particular moment, at that particular point, on that date. And I actually told this to some of the people that I love very much in life, that, hey, I use birth line. And in the past, I might be not even like a very far past, like a near past, a few months ago, I might be like, oh, but I love birth line, something like that. Or sometimes when I face people who are like different from us, I might even be like, why using that, or stuff like that. But I realized that I don't have to be like that. I just have to change me. I just have to change myself to change the world, if I hope for a change. And I just have to love myself. And this thing is like also from Dr. Joe, but there are also like some of the things inside that I love and might not love as much about all those things in the past. Meditation tracks or therapies or stuff like that. And I think it's pretty genuine for me to feel that way as a person. Of course, in many things, there are the things that are suitable for me. There are things that I love. Of course, in many things, I might see things that I feel like is a little off. Why do I expect myself to be forced into something? And why do I attempt to force the other things into something so forcefully? I just hope to be like nature. I just love to be like nature. And I get to define my life. I used to love sad songs so much. I still love some of them. And the fact that knowing that listening to sad songs and immersing into that world actually gets us to feel a little better sometimes, maybe. Make us do this even more. But sometimes, after enjoying those songs, I also tell myself to jump out of them, to tell myself that, hey, that story is that story, my life is my life, this is like a little story, there are the parts that I love that I could implement or become a part of my life, and the parts that don't, hey, just, it's okay. And the way that I'm saying this, wow, it's like so simple to be said. Oh, when it's done, sometimes we call things like, it's simple when we are just talking about it, people talk the talk, how do we walk the walk, or something like it's easier said than done, yeah, stuff like that. For me, I try to have my own phrases right now. It's easy when it's said and it's easy when it's done, for me, with lots of love. And I always check with the archetypes that I love and resonate with. Yeah. So today I just love the archetype lover. And yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of like the kind of love that comes from my heart. It's like a miracle. And yet it's not falling into fear, or it's not falling into the obsessive way of wanting the kind of love that is like harmful or destructive or distorted. It's kind of love that is like true love, that we open up for ourselves. The kind of love that is defined by Caroline Myss as great passion and devotion, unbridled appreciation of someone or something as light attributes instead of shadow attributes. But then I do know the shadows, they sometimes are just right there, right? So we're not like, oh, what if we have a question here. There's just this shadow. There's just this fear, because when there's light, there's shadow. When there's love, there's just fear right there. How do we view this? There is a book that's introduced to me by a very old cousin brother, and he's like, oh, you're afraid of fire? There's a book named The Power of Fear. And then I was like, okay, interesting. I was not like reading that book because I love the other books of different genres, and I was just moving on in life. And yet sometimes when I think about the title of the book, The Power of Fear, so there is the power of love, there is the power of fear, there is also pros and cons to love and pros and cons to fear. We fear about something, we had biases because we were trying to protect ourselves from something in life, many things in life. For example, I know not to play fire in ways that are, unprofessional. Yeah, it's just like a cook is using a knife, and I wrote that in a blog about giving a knife to a cook and giving a knife to a toddler before you can imagine what could happen. Giving a fire or like a lighter to light out fire to a cook or to a baby. Oh my god. My goodness. We all know what's gonna happen. There are always so many sides to so many things. And there are always so many blames on so many things that I just hope to let that part of the voice of everything having its values to be heard. And as we see in drawing the part of the art where there are parts where there are these things kind of like totally different from the other fluid parts. It's just out of intuition. And it's just to show how there are so many faces to many things. And the point of us, being here together, we have different intentions. if we go down into thinking what it is, what do we label it as, we could think about so many things. And that's why if you also have pens and papers, if you also love watercolor, or you don't have to do watercolor, besides watercolor that's eco-friendly, from my search, charcoal is also quite eco-friendly and intuitive. And then, digital ones, if you feel that that's cool. And many other art therapists that I know, they love to use things that can make them feel. Some of them use clay, some of them even play with dirt. So for me, watercolor is my medium for a person who loves art as a hobby that makes me express myself and makes me feel like I'm healing one art at a time. Sometimes this art appears just so imperfect. Look at that. We could have been having all of the other similar forms of fluid over there, but we have decided to let some parts become the parts that are totally different or not so different, or people can't tell. Those are the parts from the hearts that are trying to break through and tell us something inside. Those are the parts of our hearts trying to speak to us. We always say body, mind, and soul being balanced when we are in some meditations or yoga practices that I have been with. That's why we mentioned grounding just now. Actually, also with the chakras. But you do realize that although I do feel my heart chakra opening, it's not necessarily that I'm using green right here, although I do use green in some of the other arts that I'll show you, because it is very personal when it comes to the kind of arts that we just hope to help us express. And when I'm doing little dots with this watercolor brush, I do have smaller watercolor brushes, but at that time I just hope of using this one, which is weird. And dotting them needs so much attention of mine. Those lines require attention too, but these dots, why do they seem as if they're disintegrating? Why do they feel like they are there? There's a part of me that I look into myself and I know something that is not described through words, something that is so visual. Because sometimes words can tell us yes or no, or yes and no, or maybe and maybe. When I'm playing with these words, we can even play it all day long. But how do we appreciate this thing that is just ambiguous and it appears to be translated into different words when different people look at it? And sometimes the creator might hope that some people might see it the same, but sometimes the creator might hope that it's just not the matter. There's just something to be. There's just something to experience. There's just something to explore. There's just something to enjoy at a moment. And when it comes to intuitive arts, why do I sometimes not even use the sound, but sometimes let the sound guide me? Because I hope that sometimes we allow rules to be there so that some games are fun, but sometimes, we don't have to restrict ourselves into the things that we just form because we might be frightening out Or we might be telling ourselves that we need those things, though we don't actually need those things anymore because it's like for one phase, or we genuinely don't need them. It depends on so many situations, and there's no one size fits all for healing. There's no one size fits all for arts. There's no one size fits all for many things. So when it comes to the journey, we are the ones who get to explore everything ourselves and appreciate it. With that, we're gonna have a closer look into the art to appreciate this art after such a long time. We can see the bubbles around, we can see the lines that I have understood about the ways of using them at different ages, at different stages, the colors that sometimes become gradient, sometimes become vibrant. So this integrating part is almost like how we just fade away somehow. Tiny little dots